Welcome to Lockbox, a podcast providing real estate professionals with action items for success. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm going to be your host. I'm the founder of two real estate marketing and tech companies, STEEZY.Digital and realnurture.io. In this podcast, you'll learn from top 1% real estate and mortgage brokers the exact secrets to their success. Welcome to Lockbox. Welcome to Lockbox. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm here today with Alison Alston and Marissa Boyle. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So
in unison.
Why don't you? I know, in unison, no less. Usually it's so off if there's two guests. It's like that.
We didn't mention we're basically twins, so it's fine.
So you can tell that you're definitely in sync as business partners, right?
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit before the show about all the things you have going on, which we'll dive into today. But first of all, I would love for you just to tell our listeners who you are and where you're from.
I'm Alison Alston, as you said. I'm the owner of Lodestone Real Estate. I am originally from New Jersey. I relocated to Charlotte 5 years ago, and you cannot drag me back.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm Marissa Boyle, and I'm from San Luis Obispo, California, so Central Coast, and moved to Charlotte about 13 years ago, so 2009, to get into real estate. And I like to, create and build companies, and then I like to sell them to Alison. So I focus on the development, sales, and coaching of the team, and then getting some of the deal structure and verticals integrated for the business.
Amazing. Very excited to have both of you on today. But first, before we dive into everything that you have going on today, what was your first experience with real estate? Like, what showed you the possibility and the power? I would love to hear the story of each of your journey of just getting that insight, that first exposure.
Yeah, what showed you was possible. Yeah, go for
it. So for me, I would say twofold. So one, starting when I was a little girl, my dad was a custom home builder. So just growing up around that and seeing my family kind of take a home that when you walked in was, in my opinion, absolutely horrible, and then turning it into something incredible that people were just dying to get into. That was really incredible for me and really powerful to see the sweat equity and what that could turn into and the wealth that could build for my family. And then I think personally, as I got a little bit older, as I got into the business and I joined with Marissa when we moved here, just seeing how transformative it could be for people's lives to get them into a house. My background's in nonprofits. I used to do fundraising for private schools. And so it's near and dear to my heart. And so being able to get people into homes for the first time, and especially when it's the first time ever in a family that they had home ownership, that's really what showed me the transformative power of it.
Powerful. Love that. Marissa?
Yeah. So, the wealth creation, right? But then it's like, what's the point of the wealth creation? And then it's just being able to live the life you want, right? And bringing in doing the things you want to do with who you want to do it, contributing and helping people grow. And then one of my favorite things to do is with the agents I coach is make sure that for every single year that they're in the business, that they're buying one rental property and then showing them kind of what's possible there, right? With the BRRRR models, doing the cash out refinances that are non-taxable events, showing them some of that. And then personally, I got into real estate when I was 26 years old. And I remember the first month that I made more money than both of my elementary school teacher parents did in an entire year combined. And I was kind of like, whoa, this is a tremendous kind of chutes and ladder, fast way to get on a path to success financially. And then the financial abundance kind of starts pouring into the, mental, emotional, spiritual health abundance as well.
Yes, absolutely. I love the concept of not really coming from real estate families per se, but then seeing the power of it and getting into it and being able to then let that financial abundance and overflow then flow into other areas of your life, like the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, and the generosity. So I love that. And for my listeners, just to have total clarity on where you're at today and what structure of real estate business you have today, can you tell us, are you primarily operating a real estate brokerage, and so you're doing residential transactions?
So yes, so Lodestone is a team. We hold our licenses at a firm that's not Lodestone. We're not a standalone firm. Success wise for this past year, we did just shy of 100 million in sales. We were top 10 in the Carolinas. I personally was top 20 in our local MLS. So we have had tremendous amount of growth over the past few years. And we focus mostly on residential. We do a lot of work with investments as well, especially with Marissa's background with the REITs. That was something that we've both really enjoyed having some fun with.
Awesome. I love that. And anything there to add, Marissa? You mentioned there's like multiple other businesses involved as well.
Right. Because now that I sold this team to Alison about 3 years ago. Right. So then it's like, okay, what can we do? So we were, getting vertically integrated with the insurance, whether that be title or property and casualty, getting that set up. Then the latest thing that we're doing is raising money into some of that to show the agents how to run that BRRRR model. So anything we can do there. And then obviously the rental property, right? So whether it be single family apartments, land, townhomes, whatever it may be, anything buy and hold. Cause I've flipped about 50 properties in Charlotte, and I'd play that game where I'm like, I wish I would have kept every single one. So I don't like to flip anymore. It's just a giant tax liability and you're constantly in an acquisition cycle.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. And I tend to agree with you there. So with the strategy of teaching your agents the BRRRR strategy, I love that concept. And I'm curious how your retention is for your agents.
That's great. So it's like we have this whole concept for coaching where it's like, make it. And when I first started coaching about 7 years ago, I was just like, make it. I need to get them to 100K, then 250, then 500, then $1 million. And I was hell bent on that. And then what I discovered is a lot of people that sell real estate don't come from any sort of like wealth or, kind of backgrounds or families. So I'm like, okay, then they're blowing it on the keep it and the investment part. So now literally everything I coach, I have this whole graphic that's like, make it, keep it, invest it. And it's just the repetition of, all right, so you've learned how to make it through selling real estate. Are you set up with your bookkeeper, CPA, corporate attorney, all that stuff? Are you saving for your taxes? And then on the investment piece, right, there's tax benefits to that. And then every month we do a form where we fill out, and it's a chart. That's why I'm making that circle. It's just, where are you at with it, right? Are you paying off, high yield consumer debt like credit cards to save for that down payment? Are you saving for the down payment? Are you actively looking for a property? Are you found a property, now you're renovating it or you're leasing it up? And it's just that like once a month, just like that repetition of where are you at? And that's really starting to push people forward with it. So
as far as retaining the agents, we've been very fortunate. They stay with us. I focus on more of that day-to-day and keep their business growing. And so they've got that foundation coming. They know they can come and sit down with me anytime and talk through it. We're going to coach them through any situations they've got going on.
So can I just, right before we even jumped on, so like one agent walks in, I'm like fiddling around with the light, and then I'm on the phone negotiating a deal with another agent that we're co-investing on a BRRRR deal with. And then she's helping this agent fill out her first MLS listing. So it's just kind of, we're like, just bring it to us.
Like,
we'll
okay,
help you.
We've got it.
We got whatever it is. We'll figure it out. Personally or professionally. We've been through the ringer and we've got our asses
a lot too.
On a lot of things. So. And that's the other thing too. It's like, I'm sure I've gotten my ass kicked more than most people could ever possibly imagine. And it's just like, how resilient and how quickly can you bounce out of it?
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
Yeah. And we coach the agents too on having a little bit of balance, have some fun, make sure you're having those experiences, whether it's with family, friends, yourself, your own retreat, but just really making sure that we're kind of practicing what we preach. Marissa's bi-coastal at this point. So as she said, she's from California. She goes back and spends time there. It's been one of the great things with our partnership is just being able to give each other the freedom to kind of go live our lives. Everything can be done remotely. But one of us is always physically here. So they always have that comfort of having someone here. And then makes sure she's on the ground when I go, and I spend time with my family and travel and visit too. So
I love that. And how you encourage it, and you also lead by example by doing it yourself. So it's having a life outside of real estate, and also setting up a retirement and setting up investments. I mean, it's not so much nowadays, how much money the person can make when they're working with you. It's really how much you can help them develop as a person. And that, in my opinion, is what helps retention, and it helps then you not have to constantly train new people, because the people that are there are loving their environment, they're happy, they're making money, they're high performing, and they know that they're also setting up for investments for the future, right? So that little BRRRR angle, which teaching your agents to do one per year, that's a nice retention tool.
It's an easy concept, right? Like I buy one rental property.
It's like, why not?
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think too, I was just going to say, creating when they're in a better financial position on the brokerage standpoint, then they're servicing the general brokerage clients at a much higher, because they're not freaking out about paycheck to paycheck and commission. So it's just a better experience for everyone all around and brings the stress down.
It's the right way to do it for sure.
It is.
We think so.
So you mentioned the team, it did around 100 million last year. We just wrapped up 2021. That's awesome. And I'm curious what advice you would give to a team out there that's maybe doing like 50, 60 million. They want to level up. And then also, what advice should they ignore?
I would say the biggest thing is stick with what's working. Take a look at your deals that you closed. Where are they coming from? And double down on that. Go deeper, not wider. I think every realtor is guilty of doing the shiny object dance. And especially the more successful you are, the more opportunities are thrown at you, and it's hard to weed through them. So have a trusted advisor that you can talk to that's more objective about things, but also just sticking with what you know. I have been fighting since day one in this business. Everyone's like, it's tech, it's tech, it's tech. I barely use tech in my day-to-day. And, I started 5 years ago, and I've gone from, I think my first year I did just over 5 million in sales. And this past year I did 81 million. So you don't need tech. If it works for you, that's great. And then you focus and do it. But I think the biggest thing is figure out what you're great at and then go and focus in on that and ignore all the distractions.
I think that's really good advice. And when you mention that you should know where your deals are coming from and double down on that, I want to put you on the spot now.
Yep.
So what percentage of deals are coming from like repeat business, referrals, things like that, as opposed to new business or advertising for you?
So we actually don't do any advertising. So I can tell you 0% from that. We're both statistics nerds, so we love this stuff. I can tell you 67.2% to be exact, because I just ran the numbers last week, of our business came from repeat and referrals from those clients. The rest of it, I would say it was about 12% came from brand new business. And then the balance is from our investors.
Okay. And with a lot of it coming from repeat business, what systems do you have in place to increase the amount of repeat and referral business that you receive?
I like pretty basic. No, we have a full-time concierge on our team. So that was something that Marissa and I created about 4 years ago now. We do a lot of corporate relocation here. Charlotte's obviously a huge booming city for relo. And it's something that we really wanted to focus in and drill down on with both of our backgrounds. We were like, we can definitely make this better. I relocated here with my husband's job and we had to use corporate relo. It was a horrible experience. And so I sat down with her and I was like, we need to fix this. This was terrible. I don't want to have anybody else go through this again. So we added a full-time concierge. So when you work with us, yes, you're buying or selling a home, but we're also taking care of all of your lifestyle needs. If you've got kids, we're getting them registered for school. We help with your car registration. If you've got pets, we set you up with doctors, veterinarians, groomers, you name it, we handle it. Unless it's illegal, then we say, nope, sorry. And we also don't do dating. We have been asked. But so that's a big part of it, is having access to that person and continuing to have access even once the deal is done. We do quarterly client events during.
I think it's easy, right? So it's like, I think agents, they get twisted and they forget. It's like the number one source of business for all top producing agents is their sphere of influence, right? I think that's just, as soon as you realize that, things will start clicking into place. And then also across the board, no top producer has more than 3 sources of business. And it's that whole, you need to specialize, not generalize. And who are you, right? As an agent, and who do you represent? And I think too, then it's like, okay, so now you've got this sphere of influence that you're working, and it's like, what do they want from us? They want housing stats. So that's once a month, send them a market report. Then we're also the community resource. So it's like, okay, also once a month, send them, a list of community events, what's going on, arts, entertainment, whatever, farmers market,
new construction, developments.
Yeah. Like, what's that commercial building over there? And then the other piece, then you do the human thing, where it's the coffees, the lunches, the pop buys, the gifts, the client events. And it's just like that whole, you can make more doing less if you focus and specialize, and I think a lot of people just like Alison said, just try to go too wide, and we are just digging the deepest holes where we can. And that's corporate relo, that's investment, and that's coaching agents and bringing them up.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And it also makes sense because you're focusing so much on your sphere, then your sphere is then feeding you back. Like it's not necessarily like this specific system in place, but it's more so like that is your primary focus as a team, and it all centers around your sphere. So it's awesome.
Yeah, they've taken care of us from day one. So we keep reinvesting in them.
Yeah. And then people will say like, okay, well, great, Marissa, I don't have a sphere of influence. And I'm like, hey, neither did I, because I moved from California to North Carolina in the middle of the recession on 3 weeks notice. And I knew nobody when I got here.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know a soul.
And then you just, what do you do? Right? Like who does your nails? Who does your hair? Where are you getting gas? I joined a kickball team because I was 26 years old at the time. Whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I think agents just overcomplicate things, and we're like, real estate is simple, not easy. You need to be a specialist, not a generalist, and go deep.
Yeah, great answer. Love that. So now I'd love to touch on the entrepreneurial journey for both of you, because you're both impressive women of business, both highly successful. And I would love to learn for each of you to answer separately. What's the single most important action that you've taken on a daily basis that has attributed most to your success? So who wants to go first?
I mean, I've got, consistency.
Okay.
I think a lot of people get into this business or any startup and they're like, oh, it's flexible. I don't need a structure. I don't have to have a routine. I'm just going to wing it. You've got to be consistent, and you've also got to carve out time for yourself. I think a lot of agents get into this and they just are working around the clock, and there's no boundaries. And so for me, from the beginning, I've treated it like any other professional job. I've set boundaries. Here are my hours. These are my days of the week. This is how I'm going to handle my business. I teach people how to treat me as a professional. And I think just being consistent and then just under promise and over deliver all the time.
Love that. How about you, Marissa?
Over the years, it's just that concept of feeling as if, right? So I'm a big visualizer. So if I can see something in my mind's eye and like feel it like mentally, emotionally, intuitively, that it's something that I already want, like a business that we're planning or a goal, personal or professional. So I'll sit every day and do some visualization exercises of like, do I already feel like the woman that has accomplished all these things? Because once I can really tap into that and feel it, I'm like, it's done. It's just a matter of time.
Law of attraction?
Yeah.
The secret?
But
kinda?
with it, yes. And then where I get kind of annoyed with people that are like, I'm going to manifest and dream my way into success. I'm like, okay, fine. That's step one. But then you also have to, do the work, like the hardcore effort to show that you want it, along with your affirmations and visualizations.
Yep, absolutely. A vision is a vision, a plan is a plan, but nothing really happens until you take the action and execute the plan. So I totally agree with that. You can't you can't just sit there and just feel it and just be in your bed cozy at noon on a Tuesday and be like, it's gonna happen. Like,
I'm gonna do that today. It's great.
Right.
So I should say I do that for about 5 or 10 minutes, not hours and hours.
Yeah. But that's a valuable 5 or 10 minutes. You start off with the vision of where you're going.
But Alison knows. I'll be like, I'll tell her, I'm like, I fully felt it. And she's like, okay, great.
I'm like, all right, let's go do it.
I love that. So talking about the future, where do you think this industry is heading? What are the 5-10 year projections?
I mean, I think in a bunch of different directions. I think we're definitely on a turning point. One of the things that's been most interesting to me is just watching, frankly, the average age of realtors drop. This has gone from something that was a hobby or a part-time thing for most to a lot of people are coming right out of school and seeing this as a viable career option. And I think that's, as we've seen with every other industry, you get a bunch of young people in, they're going to put their own touch and they're going to revolutionize it. So I think there's some big changes coming from that standpoint. I think, you're going to see a lot more specialization. I think right now everybody's tech. Here's all these fancy programs. Here's all these things. But without people actually knowing how to use them or utilizing them well, you're not going to get much groundwork there. So I think you'll have more people working on that and specializing there. I think, the longer we adapt with our new reality with COVID and there is more of life online, you'll see a shift to that. But I also think there's going to be a lot of pushback and a lot of people trying to dig in and return to the quote unquote old way of doing things and really building these deep, solid relationships and asking for more from their realtors. They're really going to be demanding a lot more, a lot higher service for the commission.
Yeah. I think there's always going to be compression on commissions, right? So whether that's from a discount brokerage, whether that's from iBuyers, whatever it is, right? Like all this stuff has always been around and it's just gotten repackaged and marketed. And to me, the choice has always been like, you go high, right? And add a lot of value to your clients, or you price compete. And so Alison and I have always been on alignment of we go high, we provide value, we do concierge level service. We are your real estate advisors, meaning not only can we help you with buying and selling primary residences, then it's what is your wealth creation strategy around real estate? And, really just globally being that person.
Yeah. And I think our partnerships too, that's a big thing. And I think people are going to be looking for that more. A lot of people want to be DIY. They realize once they've swung the hammer for the first time, they've already gotten in over their heads and they have no idea what they're doing. So then they reach out and they don't know where to go. So I think the more that people can provide those partnerships, and I feel like we do a really good job with our relationships.
Yeah, I think the vendor list too, right? I think it's like who do you call when you need the fireplace redone, the plumber, the electrician, the general contractor, the flooring, and just being able to have these people like on call. We know their pricing and quality is great, and they're bonded, insured, not weirdos. Provide great service. There's just a lot of value add stuff that you can do that gets overlooked, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those are pretty simple things to do, like have a go-to electrician.
That helps to differentiate you moving forward into the 2020s.
Yeah. And then it's like knowing, right? So it's like, all right, do we need the general contractor for the rental rehab? Are we doing like a luxury flip because it's not the same guy? And then just knowing who to plug in where.
Yeah. I've noticed, with Google and all of the different tech out there, people are looking for the realtors to be more educated than they did in the past because they can look a lot of stuff up online and then they come in and they've got all this information, but they don't know what to do with it. And so they want to know that you know that stuff and you know exactly where to direct them and how to go there or send them to the people who can. And so I think people are really going to be asking a lot more out of the real estate professionals going forward.
Yeah. So I think 5 to 10 years, it's like, if you're not specializing and studying market trends and showing people how to create wealth through real estate, you better get discounted or out of the business. Is my opinion. Yeah.
Yep. I love that. And being an interpreter of information. So,
storytellers.
Commission. Yeah, exactly. Commission compression, like you said, it's been around for a long time. And if you're offering a commoditized service, then you're going to be treated like a commoditized.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, great points there to specialize, niche down, be the local expert, and be able to interpret the information that's coming to you and make it real for the client who's going through whatever story they're going through, and be able to then take the information they're bringing to you, because like you said, they're doing so much research ahead of time online, and they come to the table with so much more than when previously real estate professionals were the keepers of information. But now that time has passed, and we as real estate professionals now need to shift into interpreting information and making it make sense for the client and in their best interest. So I totally agree with everything you said there. Awesome. So what are 1 to 3 books that have greatly influenced your life and or career, both of you? Top couple books.
I'm like, you've got a whole list.
So I have a book club. The number one thing for me for real estate, if you want to sell, is Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That one is like the OG, right? Like
the classic.
And everybody's like, oh, it's a Keller Williams thing. I'm like, okay, well, maybe Gary Keller wrote it and the case studies are from there, but that should be inspiring, not
absolutely.
So Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I'll give 2 more too.
I'm a big Dale Carnegie fan, so I like a lot of his stuff. How to Win Friends. That's
and influence people, of course. Yep.
So that's a big one for me. I
think Think and Grow Rich is always like the OG too, for anybody that's starting.
Yeah. Those 2 are ones to reread.
Yes.
This is what I don't even know if you can say this, but this is all the books that I have for group coaching recommended.
Nice.
So I'm like, please don't make me pick one, but.
Well, you have 2 more. I think.
Oh, okay.
You said Think and Grow Rich,
Ooh.
but that's all right. You could do a few. Just list them
Okay,
off.
so I like the 10x rule too, because that helps you just, if you want to learn how to speed and expand your mindset pretty quickly, that one's gnarly and I like it. And I already said Think and Grow Rich, and I said Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Yep.
And then a big fan of all the John Maxwell books for leadership and coaching and team building and that.
Yep.
And I could give you more, but I will not. So I'll put that down.
All right. So how to win friends and influence people. I would say another big one of mine is, and I do not remember who wrote it, but nonviolent communication.
Yeah.
That's a really big one.
Must. Untethered Soul too, if we want to get in that vein.
There's
The Body Keeps Score.
Communication is like the number one thing. I have a bit of a background in psychology. And so that's a huge one for me. Is communication isn't just the words coming out of your mouth. It's like, what are your non-verbal cues that you're giving, and what are your clients giving to you, and pay attention to that stuff. So that's a good one I always recommend for people to read. Tipping Point. That's probably my third. I love Malcolm Gladwell books. Yeah.
I think David Sedaris too, if you want to, I call it story selling. So if you want to learn like observational humor in humans and like how to tell stories, that's a good one. Or like any of his books.
Oh, storytelling.
I don't know. I obsessively read and listen to
lot.
books. So I'm like,
this is a hard one.
But as far as like real estate sales, I would say Millionaire Real Estate Agent, 10X, and then Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, personally, I agree. Nonviolent communication, Untethered Soul, and then The Body Keeps Score for personal growth.
That's awesome. I think between the two of you, we have a book a month for the next year suggested.
Great.
I'm like, we can send a whole list.
I actually just dialed down the book club. I'm like, well, let's do one a quarter. Yeah. That's more of an appropriate speed.
Yeah.
Nice. And you know, it's so true. I was just re-listening to Jim Rohn's Ultimate Library of his like best ever, and you know, it's like this 8-hour audiobook, amazing, highly recommend it. But at the end, he was saying, you know, you don't have to be wealthy and from like a silver spoon type of upbringing to be polished and educated. All of the world's knowledge is available for free at the public library. And he said, how many people have a library card?
Yeah.
3%. Right? 3% of people have a library card.
Yeah.
That's it.
No way.
Yep. That's it. And, you know, it's all there. If it took someone 5 years to build an experience and get to the point of success where they got to then write a book that would take you 5 days to read, isn't that a valuable, 5 days to spend to catch up?
But
right?
I feel like most people, what if there was another stat that it's like most people only read one book like every 10 years?
Well, that and the two cognitive declines of cognitive engagement are after people finish school and when they retire, which for me, it actually was kind of like I finished school and it increased. I got into personal development when I was 18 as a sales rep in a Cutco, and they were huge on personal development. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing closing gift. Obviously, that's how the realtors know about it. But their sales program's amazing, and they really instilled personal development as a lifelong habit for me. And that my income was a reflection of who I was, not so much, like how much I can just grind it out and like swindle from others. It's like who you become is what your bank account is then going to reflect, and the association of the people around you that will be attracted to you based on that. And I bought into it at 18. And so like after college, it's like, man, I've been learning all this stuff I don't necessarily want to learn or I'm not that interested in. Then I was like, now I have time to learn what I really want to learn.
Yes, it's so true. I unpopular opinion when I say this, bless you, is your net worth is directly correlated to your self-worth. And then sales is very much this emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic journey where it's like you got to be firing on all cylinders to be able to perform at peak levels with sales.
I agree. And that's why I also did like sales in the beginning. I was terrible at it in the beginning, and I wasn't like a natural born sales.
Like we are.
Yeah. But then I realized, wow, sales is not taking advantage of someone else and convincing them of something that they don't want to do. In fact, it is helping them make a decision that's in their best interest through education and empathy and like understanding them to the degree that you can help them get over their self-limiting beliefs to make the best decision for themselves. That totally aligned with me. I was like, oh,
Yes.
This I can do. Right.
That I've got. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So I love that. Now, to kind of get back on topic here for some of the success habits, there's so much to say yes to. And I like to ask this question because it's really difficult to stay disciplined and say no to things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious what each of your process is for saying no, whether it's like a real estate event or like the local real estate investment group or, some investment that comes by. It's an opportunity. It's like, oh, high returns, but you're like, I don't know about this one. Like, do you have some kind of process for evaluating deals or situations that it helps you say no and be confident with that decision?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have I make a little grid and I write, it's like a little chart and I write time, money, energy. And I either put a plus or a minus in each of those categories. And for me to say yes, it has to be a plus in all three.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And with investments, you just know where you buy, right? So for this BRRRR model, it's very specific, like brick ranch, mid-century homes within the specific area of Charlotte that have XYZ school rankings and some other criteria. So it's very easy to be like, yes or no.
Right. Yeah, that's more numbers, but
yeah, but the numbers, but on the human stuff, it's the time, energy, money.
And for me, it's always who is it involving? Are these people that I want to spend time with? What is the purpose behind it? And is this going to serve what my goals are, or is it going to distract from them?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of work through that.
That's one of the best ones. Is like, is it getting me closer to or farther from my goals?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I like how both of you have gone even farther and have a lot of clarity around this. A lot of times I don't get that clear of an answer on this question. And I really appreciate that.
We have Walking Wednesdays, as we call them.
That's we should probably tell you.
We should probably tell you that.
So every Wednesday morning we meet at like one of our favorite local parks and walk and bring our dogs and whatever. But the first 20 or 30 minutes of it is usually me just like just spewing all of the ideas and the things and like, because that's part of it. Like I am like such an idea creator, builder type. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing and that thing and this thing. And at this point, this is why we have a great relationship too, because she knows, she just lets me run and just let it out. And then I'm like, okay, but here's what I really think we should do. And what do you think? And then we kind of screen and filter. But like somebody like me, it has to come up and out of my body. And then I'm like, now I can settle into what's actually going to happen. But I need to talk about it.
You have to get it out.
She's
she listens.
She's the visionary. I'll process everything. And then I start poking holes. And I'm like, okay, if you can fill these holes for me, then we know it's a good thing. If both of us are in alignment and agreement, then we know this is a great idea and we should move forward. If both of us are not, then we know we've got to pump the brakes and figure out, okay, is it a no, never, or is it a not right now?
Yeah. And then sometimes we'll pull her husband in because he's like ultra conservative, like risk averse. And I'm just like, I mean, if we screw it up, we'll fix it. Like, so my risk tolerance and like my novelty drive, both are off the charts.
Kind of right here and my husband's down here. And I'm like, all right, if he tells us yes, we got to do this now.
Allison's the first test. And then Allison's husband is really the test.
But that's like those 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Because they're going to be a direct reflection of, your marriage, your wealth, your spirituality, all that stuff. So it's just making sure you've got a good kind of mix of people to filter things by.
And this has become like a good practice for us to just disconnect. Like our phones are off when we're out there. It's usually about an hour. And it's like, all right, let's go spend time, work through what's going on, discuss the opportunities that have come at us this past week, and let's work through them. And which ones do we pursue? Which ones do we table? And which ones do we just say, nope, we're going to pass?
Do we need like an operating partner on it?
Do we need to bring somebody else in? Like who would that person be? So it's just a really great brainstorming session. I'm pretty sure if the park goers could hear us, they think we're both crazy. But it's been a really helpful way. And just like the physical movement, I feel like brings about a lot of different energy too, and really just helps us kind of settle into that groove and really just thinking through it and processing it.
Yep.
No, that's a phenomenal habit. I love that you do that. And it's almost like each of you are your accountability coaches. And
totally.
You like found each other through business and you're both benefiting from the partnership in all these different ways, but also you're able to get along and, be able to communicate and hold each other accountable and do the Wednesday walks. Like that's phenomenal to have a business partnership that you actually, enjoy being a part of. And I think that came back to what Alison said, like, do I want to be around these people when you're considering saying yes or no to something? That's important. In today's world, there's so much abundance. We don't have to go work with people we don't want to work with, or, on the first call, you're like, ugh, like, I don't know if this is going to work out. You don't have to go do that. So,
and then learning it's just off. So it's a no, like you don't need to like dissect or analyze. It's just, energy's not there. Goodbye.
We don't need to study this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It helps us definitely make decisions a lot quicker. Yeah.
As Jim Rohn says, don't subscribe to that course. Like just if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Yeah. It's just a no.
No. What is that? No period is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, is there a question that I should have asked you? Is there something I'm missing or anything that you'd like to expand upon from earlier?
I mean, always, but I feel like
we could go on forever.
I'd sit here and talk to you for the next 10 hours, but I think that's...
No, I think the biggest thing for us is just, find the people that you want to work with and be successful with. Mm-hmm. And then don't be afraid to let people in on what you're doing. Open the doors up. And as long as it's the right people and you're enjoying it and they're enjoying it, you can empower a lot of people. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is just once you have the wealth, don't keep it.
We'll keep it and share it.
Keep it, but share it. Don't keep it all to yourself. We're very big believers in an abundant mindset, and there's more than enough business to go around. So I think that's really an important thing too.
And you can't, that's my last thought, right? For this is you can't do it alone. It's, it's lonely, it's boring. You can't go as far. So we always say we're stronger together. We're better together, and just don't do this business alone because it's more fun to win together.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And coming back to a lot of the things I just recently heard with re-listening to that Jim Rohn tape, he talks about how when you teach something, well, they might get it. They might get 10% of it, but you get to revisit it and relearn it again because you're teaching it. So there's so much like people hold on to their secrets and their tactics. In real estate, it's interesting because once you go 25 miles outside your service area, you're like telling everyone everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're not a competitor. All right. But even in the local area and just like in general, I think it's a philosophy that I had to adopt once I got into business and I had some valuable intellectual property. It's like, okay, if I want to create content that people are actually engaged with, then I need to share some trade secrets and just put them out there on social media with no call to action, like no opt-in, no this, and just share actual value. And that's really the concept with this podcast is like, I know that if I just get across from guests and we just dive into actual value, then those that do stumble across it and listen to it will want to listen again and they'll subscribe and everything will just take care of itself from there. And just kind of taking that leap of faith of like, I get to now talk about these things with both of you, reflect on my experience, share things, saying with you, reaffirming it, saying it out loud, saying it to the world, which is also kind of like a type of accountability in and of itself, So I love the concept of sharing and not keeping it to yourself because it really does help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, how can listeners contact you? Both of you.
They can go on our website, lodestonerealestate.com. We're both there. They can send us an email, Allison@lodestonerealestate.com.
IG at Marissa CLT, or they can go to marissaboylecoaching.com or go to the Lodestone website. I'm on both.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll link to those below and really appreciate having both of you on. Alison Alston, Marissa Boyle out in Charlotte, North Carolina. Absolutely killing it in real estate. They have a vertically integrated team. They're doing a lot of things, and it sounds like a great place to hang your license. So if you're interested, I'm sure that they would be open to hearing some top agents that would be interested in coming over. So reach out to Alison and Marissa if you're interested, or if you have some referrals, right?
Yep.
So
we'd love that.
All right. Really appreciate having you on. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening. If you want to accomplish your real estate goals, then I highly suggest downloading my free Ultimate Real Estate Goal Setting Framework. The link is in the description of the show. and it will help you break down your annual income goal into the amount of phone calls, appointments, or open houses you need in order to achieve that goal. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.